If there's one theme that runs through the comments on the drone videos I've made on my channel, it's the frustration that comes along with owning one. In fact, it was my own frustration with the various aspects of drone ownership, the stuff that made the small veins in my forehead pulse wildly, that led me to make those videos in the first place. So let's just say, I hear you. So in this video I thought I'd talk about the whole issue of drone ownership. I live in Australia and some of my comments may relate specifically to this country, but actually the rules and regulations are pretty similar in most countries these days, and therefore the frustrations are similar too. So let's get into it. Is it worth owning a drone in 2022? Now, I suppose the answer to this question depends on one key factor, namely, do you own a drone already, or are you thinking about buying your first one? Because honestly, a bit of beginner's enthusiasm can carry you a long way, and some of the stuff that pisses off experienced drone owners might seem less significant to you if you're new to it all. With that in mind, let's get into the list of positives of drone ownership. Okay, so the first tick on the positive side of this question is that learning to fly a modern drone is ridiculously easy. So if you've always fancied having a remote control aircraft of some kind, but the learning curve put you off, then fear not, you'll be fine. Anyone can fly a drone. Not only are they easy to learn, but like modern cars, they come packed with safety features such as return to home, auto landing, object detection and collision prevention, all of which actively work in your favour. Thanks to the GPS and camera-based positioning technology in all modern consumer drones, they hover in location until you instruct them to do something else. So most of the time, all you have to do to avert disaster is simply let go of the controls. Next, the fun factor. Flying drones is a blast. Once you've got over your beginner's nerves and are flying your drone more confidently, you'll start to enjoy the whole experience. And as you put in the hours and build up your confidence, you can start using features like sports mode, which enables you to fly your drone at high speeds. Even if we ignore the other cool stuff you can do with a drone, simply flying one is a good crack, as my dear old Irish mum used to say. And who doesn't love a good crack? One of the main reasons people buy drones is for photography or filmmaking purposes. What used to require an expensive helicopter charter is now an everyday possibility, and this is a huge benefit that comes with owning a drone. People who make travel videos or documentaries, filmmakers, activists, sports fans, drug dealers supplying junkies in prisons, everyone has benefited from the ability to stick a 4K video camera up in the air. And as drones have developed, the cameras have become better and better too. And for a couple of grand now, you can stick a cinema-grade drone up in the air and shoot incredible clean footage. Everyone from the smallest YouTube channel to the biggest Hollywood movie productions use drones to shoot content. These days, they even shoot in log and ProRes formats, the gold standards of videography. And it's not just filmmakers. Photographers can also benefit very positively from owning a drone. If you can position your camera anywhere in 3D space, rather than just where you can pitch a tripod, opens up this amazing world of ours in an undiscovered way. If you've never tried aerial photography before, then I can only suggest you give it a try. You can also create 360 spheres or massive wide panos, or simply point the camera straight down for some classic bomb shots. Drones are great if you have mobility issues and consequently struggle with regular cameras. Age or disability become irrelevant when you're flying a drone, and they mean that it's possible for anyone to capture great photographs or shoot amazing video. Of course, one of the biggest positives that comes with owning a drone is that it opens up all sorts of commercial possibilities. Admittedly, it's a lot more competitive these days, but you could if you wanted, use your drone to shoot video or take photographs on a professional basis. The classic opportunity is real estate photography, but there are other options such as aerial surveying, wedding photography, or commercial filmmaking. The fact is that many people justify the cost of a drone by saying that they will use it to make money. Whether they ever go on to make a single cent is another matter entirely. But between you and me, 99% of them probably earn fuck all. Moving swiftly on, if you're the competitive type, then there's always the opportunity to get involved in drone racing. You'll need a specialised FPV drone to do this, of course. A DJI Air will not be nimble or fast enough, but it's a highly skilled sport, extremely competitive, and certainly something you could get your teeth into if you like a challenge. Alright, so those are a few of the positive aspects of owning a drone. What about the negatives? As I mentioned earlier, some of these may pertain specifically to Australia, specifically indeed my first choice in that negatives column, registration fees. Now these have only been recently introduced in Australia and at this stage pertain only to people who use their drones for commercial activities, but it will apply to everyone before long, mark my words. You can dodge most of the fees by using a sub 250 gram drone, but this class of drone may not suit your requirements, so be prepared to pay for the honour of simply owning a drone. Apart from the registration fees, one negative of drone ownership is the fact that they are not cheap. In fact, the Mavic Pro range, aimed at the prosumer market, has more than doubled in price in just one bloody year. For a decent drone with a good camera, good firmware and a respectable battery life, you're looking at least £3 here in Australia. That's serious cash, particularly if you're not sure you'll like flying a drone. So if you're new to it, don't make the mistake I make with every single hobby I ever try, which is going all in at the top end of the range. Closely linked to the money-related issues I just mentioned, there's one other big cost to consider, namely replacing your entire drone because you either crashed it or it just decides to piss off back to mum and dad in Shenzhen. Don't laugh, flyaways are a genuine issue with all drones. The fact is that you're sending several grand's worth of expensive kit up into the sky using what, for all intents and purposes, might as well be considered magic. Yes, you can insure your drone using something like DJI's Care Refresh, but that's only a couple of $100 a year. Or of course you can just take your chances and risk losing your pride and joy completely. If you've got a judgmental partner, this is definitely something worth considering. Drones also have a financial cost for maintenance and upkeep. DJI batteries have a habit of getting bloaty and unusable after regular charge-recharge cycles, and this means you have to replace the whole unit. Batteries cost about $150 each here in Australia, but that's cheaper than replacing your entire drone because you flew with a bloated battery and that battery popped its clogs 120 meters up in the air, transforming your drone from aircraft to airborne paperweight in seconds. As drones have improved, they've also become more complex. This means that most of the time, they're not something you can easily repair at home. The old Phantom range of drones were tough little bits of kit, but their modern equivalents don't cope so well with a bit of rough treatment. It's increasingly common for things like camera gimbals to get damaged, which can be a costly repair. Money and technical issues aside, one of the big negatives that comes with owning a drone is the public perception of them. I've personally been harassed on several occasions by people who think I'm up to no good. On one occasion I was flying at nearby Werry Beach and two blokes, paranoid from the industrial grade skunk they've been sucking from their Coke bottle bong, got out of their immaculate and perfectly maintained Holden Commodore and accused me of spying on them for the government. On another occasion, a group of 5 older women in Audi's Isle of Dreams leisure wear, out for a morning walk at Kalala Beach, accused me of being a peeping Tom. Self-confidence is great and everything, Doris, but you were past your prime when you could buy a house with the proceeds from a modest win at the bingo. So if you fly your drone in public places where there might be other people, be prepared for the occasional adversarial conversation. Personally speaking, I always tell them in my own sensitive way to fuck off and leave me alone. But if you're not someone who copes well with confrontation, then do bear that in mind. One huge drawback to flying a drone are the rules and regulations that govern using an aircraft. Yes, a drone is officially classed as an aircraft in regulated airspace. Many people buy a drone and think they can do as they please and fly it where they want and when they want. I certainly did. Unfortunately, if you want to fly legally, then that's most definitely not the case. If you want to fly legally, there are myriad restrictions governing the use of drones, and the rules here in Australia are pretty similar to those in other countries such as the UK, the US, Canada, and most European countries. My DJI Mavic 2 Pro drone is capable of flying about 5 kilometers straight up, but the maximum height I can actually fly is a rather pathetic 120 meters. Similarly, here in Australia, we're not supposed to fly beyond visual line of sight, which is about 200 meters away at the most. So the fact that my drone can transmit from about 8 kilometers away is largely irrelevant if I choose to fly to the letter of the law. The law also states that you cannot fly over people or their property, which is houses, offices, cars, boats, etc. Then there's the problem of restricted airspace. You cannot fly a drone in active restricted airspace, and even if you did feel like flipping the bird to the authorities, and doing so anyway, most modern drones are equipped with a geospatial lockdown system which will prevent you from doing so anyway. I happen to live inside an area of restricted airspace which is 66 kilometres or 40 miles wide, and it's a colossal throbbing pain in the balls because it greatly reduces the hours within which I can legally fly my drone. These areas of restricted airspace tend to be in singularly irritating locations. For instance, pretty much all of Sydney Harbour is in one. So if you fancy getting some shots of the Harbour Bridge or the Opera House, forget it. You could always ignore these rules and regulations, of course. I know a lot of people do, but there's the chance you'll attract the attention of the feds and get fined. My final negative of owning a drone at the current time is that all of the negatives I've mentioned just now are going to get worse. The cost is going to go up. The drones will get more expensive to buy and repair. Thanks to the demonisation of drones by the media, public distrust will increase, maintenance costs will increase, fees and taxes will increase, and the rules, regulations and laws will also get increasingly severe. I don't mean to sound like the Oracle of Doom here, I'm just calling it like I see it. I firmly believe the governments of the world will slowly but surely legislate public ownership of drones into oblivion, because they see them as a threat to public safety, an instrument of illegality against law enforcement and government, and a tool that can be abused by criminals. So, what is the conclusion to the question I posed at the start of this video? Is it worth owning a drone in 2022? And despite the fact that I spent way more time talking about the negatives of drone ownership, I would say at the present time, the good outweighs the bad. Yes, government are making owning a drone a right pain in the arse sometimes, but the good stuff, the amazing videos you can shoot, the photographs you can score, and the simple fun of flying these incredible bits of technology does outweigh all that shit and red tape. In closing, I would like to offer some advice if you have decided to jump arse first into the world of drones. If you're thinking of getting your first drone, then buy a decent sub 250 gram like the Mini from DJI or the Autel Nano and see how you go. If you find that you enjoy the flying side of drones more interesting than the photography or video side, then you should sell that sub 250 gram drone and buy yourself a good entry level FPV like an iFlight Nazgul V2. And if you do like the video and photography side, then you can trade up to a larger drone and enjoy a better battery life, flight capabilities, and better photos and video footage. Alright guys, that's it for this video. As always, please hit the old like button down there if you enjoyed it. And if you're new to my modest little channel, please consider subscribing. Get more of my videos popping up in your feed. Till the next time guys, see ya.